Organizational Commitment, Chapter 3. Organizational Behavior, Chapter 3. We get into organizational commitment. What does it mean to be committed? Types of commitment, withdrawal, trends affecting commitment, diversity of the workplace, the changing workforce, employee relationships, employer-employee relationships, application commitment initiatives. The integral part of the organization behavior chart. So this is what we talked about earlier in one of our previous chapters, where we're talking about organizational mechanisms, group mechanisms, individual characteristics, individual mechanisms, and ultimately we looked at how they affected individual outcomes, job performance, and organizational commitment. We're going to be going much farther into that organizational commitment side of it today. Organizational commitment. Consider this scenario. You worked at your current employer for 5 years and have recently been approached by a competing organization. What would cause you to stay? Do those reasons fit into different kinds of categories? Organizational commitment is desire on the part of an employee to remain as a member of an organization, may be based on want, need, or feeling obligation. So you can see there's a whole lot of things to take in consideration when it comes to organizational commitment. And that is what we're talking about here. The organizational commitment employee withdrawal. So when we look at this, if you're looking at the people who are inclined to withdraw from organization to leave, you can see right here, organizational withdrawal, you see from a low end to a high. But you see, if organizational commitment is high, withdrawal behavior is low. If withdrawal behavior is high, organizational commitment is low, which tells you they're opposites. So if someone's high in organizational commitment, they have a strong connection to the organization. If someone's low in it, they could have a high withdrawal behavior. Subsequently, they could be at a high risk for leaving the organization for any number of reasons. So let's take a look at this. The three types of organizational commitment. What makes someone stay at a current organization? First, when you look at the affective commitment, this is emotional based. This is touchy-feely, how we feel. And you can read through those. Then we look at the continuance commitment. This is cost-based. This is economic. For some reason, they can't afford to leave, or they believe they cannot afford to leave. So that is economic cost-based. Normative commitment. This is obligation. This is where someone feels that they have an obligation to stay, whether it be to the boss, whether it be to the group, the unit, or to the organization. And they could have any number of reasons why. Again, you can read through those. When we look at the drivers of overall organizational commitment, we see here, we talk about the affective, which is emotional, continuous, economic, normative is the belief that they are indebted somehow. You see how they come into play. The company, top management, department managers, work teams, specific co-workers, how they tie into that. And all of that ties into overall organizational commitment. So all these things factor into that. So it's not just one thing. Affective commitment is desire on the part of an employee to remain a member of an organization because of an emotional attachment to and involvement with that organization. You may stay because you want to. What would you feel like if you left? Well, if they have that, then they would not feel good about leaving. They have some reason that they want to stay with this organization. When I've heard of this before in the past, I've seen this in the past, it's usually because these people, they have a great relationship, there's a good culture, and they like who they work for, they like who they work with, they like the organization, and they just feel good about it all the way around. So if they leave, they would feel guilty about doing it. One of the reasons why is they wonder, would I get this if I went somewhere else? And a lot of times that answer, we don't know the answer to that question. We can guess. They could go somewhere else and be just as happy, or they could go somewhere else and be miserable. But that's what they believe if they left. Assessment of affectionate commitment. Effective commitment. So you see here, you have one strongly disagree, 5 strongly agree. So when people take this assessment here and they go through and they number the scores, the average score is 20. So obviously you're looking at it and you're saying that if someone is really high in organizational commitment, they're going to have a score above 20 and maybe even possibly higher if they really truly love where they work. Social network diagram. Access to. So when you look right here, you see people are connected. People are connected. Now, if you see someone, let's imagine that the people in red are actually not committed to the organization and kind of withdrawn, and they are at risk for leaving the organization. Do you know what research shows us? Research shows us if they do leave the organization and they have strong ties to other people, if you see the bold dark lines, those are stronger ties. If they have strong ties to other people, those people are also suspect to potentially leaving themselves down the road because part of the social network left. Continuous commitment. A desire on part of an employee to remain a member of an organization because of an awareness of the costs associated with leaving. You stay because you need to. What would you feel like if you left anyway? They stay because they need to because it's some kind of way associated with cost. They may have great benefits and they think they may not be able to get those type of benefits to go somewhere else. And I'll give you one example. If they have an extremely good 401k, well, at some point in time, depending upon how old they are and how long they've been working, that's something they take strong consideration because they're thinking about retirement. If they're not in their 20s and early 30s, then if they're in their 50s and 60s, these people are thinking about retirement. So they look at it sometimes and say, you know what, it may be associated with that. But any number of reasons. I've seen people be at an organization because they had great health care and they had illness in their family, either them, their wife, or their children, and they really needed a good health care, so they would stay. So there's a cost associated with leaving. So if they leave, they feel that they may lose that or get diminished benefits. So continuous commitment, you look at it here, same here. Scale 1 through 5, 1 strongly agree, 5 strongly disagree, 1 disagree strongly, 5 agree strongly. You see the average score is 19. Obviously, you look at it and see the higher your score you would want to see if someone has continuous commitment. Embedded and continuous commitment. Now, embedded, look at this, for the organization. Embedded is a form of that, is connected to it, but embedded means that someone's tied, feel like they're tied to, embedded to this organization, to this unit, or to the community in some capacity. And so then it comes to continuous. So they're connected. So one feels embedded, subsequently they feel connected through the continuance. And you see for the organization, for the community, you see both of those areas up there. Normative. This is a desire on the part of an employee to remain a member of an organization because of fulfilling an obligation. You stay because you ought to. What would you do if you left? Okay, give you an example. If someone was in the organization and management had just promoted them, spent a lot of money to help train them, got them special certifications, and has been kind of mentoring, this person may feel indebted, may feel obligated to stay. Well, they spend a lot of time and effort and money on me, and so I think I may stay. And imagine if somebody else another company came and offered them, just say, a salary and matched their salary, gave them more money. They still may not leave because they may have the feeling that, you know what, I owe them. They were loyal to me, so I'm going to be loyal to them. These things do happen in some instances. And here again is your scale, normative. 1 strongly disagree, 5 strongly agree. Average score is 16. The more the commitment, the higher the score. Organizational commitment, reacting to negative events. Consider three scenarios depicted on the following slide. Come to a consensus on two specific behaviors that capture your likely response. That is, what you would probably do as opposed to what you wish you would do. So, if we take a look at these, we see organizational commitment scenario, annoying boss, and you see a boring job, pay seniority, two likely behaviors on each one of those. I want you to take to actually read through those and come up to see what things that you would come up with on your own accord. Nomad land. So, organizational commitment, task performance, stars, citizens, lone wolves, and apathetics. These are people, these are categories where we classify different people in. Going back, let me elaborate a little bit about those. So the stars are people who are the ones, your high performers. They're leading by example, and they get a lot of things done, and they're oftentimes the ones who are speaking up in the group. Your citizens they're not stars. They're in a group, they don't have a lot of influence, but what they do is they do a lot of things that other people don't do or wouldn't want to do, like almost like just little stuff. But guess what? Little stuff can be important because there are things that needs to get done. A lot of times with these folks, they do more than most people think they do. But they're loyal, they don't have influence, and they're not stars. And they're decent performers. Lone wolves. Lone wolves are oftentimes, or actually can be good performers. The problem is they're about self. They don't believe in team. And they don't want to be part of a team. So if it's something that requires them to be part of a team and participate, whatever else, they don't do well. They are self-centered and they think about themselves. And these people are actually, you look at when it says that they're low organizational commitment, because they have no loyalty to no organization or to no group of people or anybody. There's a high possibility that they could actually jump ship if the opportunity presents itself. Apathetics. These are people who actually, a lot of times, are actually low performers. They don't volunteer to do things, and they're not committed to actually helping make things better. For the most part, they don't care. They're at a low organizational commitment and at a higher risk for leaving. If you look at the stars and the citizens, their organizational commitment is higher. They're much more apt to stay at an organization than the lower two. Withdrawal. The costs associated with turnover are very high. When the going gets tough, the organization doesn't want you to get going. Difficult times puts people's commitment at test. This is one of the things that, an argument that you will hear about organizations who have high turnover. If they have high turnover, they can't be but so efficient. One of the reasons is you never get to the point where you have subject matter experts or institutional knowledge staying for any period of time. At some point in time, they leave. They leave at greater intervals than organizations who function well. So if you have individuals who are in withdrawal, this is some of the things you look at. There's a constant turnover. Think about this. If you have somebody who has been on the job for 2 years, and then now it took them 2 years to learn the job, and in 2 years and 6 months they leave. Withdrawal, turnover. That's what I'm talking about. When you see those kind of things, it's hard for a company to prosper because, think about it, nobody really gets good at a job to become a senior or a master in it because by the time they get that way, they leave. And a lot of times when you see that, if it's high turnover rates like that within the organization, that usually has something to do with the organization or management. There's an old saying out there that people don't quit jobs, they quit managers. Exit, voice, loyalty, neglect. Common employee reactions to negative work events. Exit, ending or restricting organizational membership. This is people who are going to quit. They will quit, or they will minimize what they do. They will do the bare minimum because basically if they haven't quit, eventually they probably will. Voice is a constructive response where individuals attempt to improve the situation. These are people who are loyal and have a high sense of organizational commitment. They have a high sense of organizational commitment and they want to make things right. Usually these are leaders. These are stars that would do that. Loyalty, a passive response where employee remains supportive while hopeful for improvement. So this can be your citizens, people like that. They want to stick around and they want things to work out and they're hopeful and they're loyal. So they will. Neglect, reduce interest and effort in the job. At a high risk for leaving. Low organizational commitment. And a lot of times they may feel neglected, do certain things, or it may be a situation where they may be actually operating as if they were. It may just be them. No matter what you do, you cannot make that person feel warm and welcome and part of a team because they just don't want to be. Withdrawal is a set of actions that employees perform to avoid work situation. One study found that 51% of employees that 51% of employees' time spent working. So another 49% was allocated to coffee breaks, late starts, early departures, personal, and other forms. So you're looking at two different forms of withdrawal. So when you see the one for 51% of employees spent, that means that, but they're only working, found that 51% of employees' time was spent working. But what was he doing the rest of the time? Not working, not something productive. And you look at the 49% were allocated to coffee breaks and things in those lines, unproductive. So they fall into two categories, psychological and physical. So look at withdrawal behavior. Let's go to the left and look at psychological. When you look at the psychological, this is mental. This is daydreaming, socializing, looking busy, loafing, moonlighting. This is stuff that's associated with mental type stuff. When you look at the withdrawal, physically withdrawal, this is people coming in late, tardy, long breaks, missing meetings, quitting, absenteeism. So you see that you have two different types. But either way, they both are withdrawal behaviors and negative and counterproductive to what an organization needs and is trying to do. Withdrawal, key question. How exactly are the different forms of withdrawal related to one another? Independent forms, compensatory forms, and progress. Answer. The various forms of withdrawal are almost always moderate to strongly correlated. These correlations suggest a progression as lateness is strongly related to absenteeism. Absenteeism is strongly related to quitting. So you see there's a correlation, how they tie into each other. It's a progression. What does it mean to be committed? Okay, so if you look at commitment, you look at the different forms of it over here, effective, continuance, and normative. You see they tie into commitment. What does it mean to be committed? But you also see the dark side of that, the green, the red, psychological withdrawal, physical withdrawal. They are also connected. So, in other words, the good in the green and the red in the bad can affect overall organizational commitment. Trends affecting commitment. Diversity of the workplace. So let's look at this. Diversity of the workplace. Growing more racially and ethnically diverse, becoming older, including more foreign-born workers, the changing employee-employer relationship, psychological factors, psychological contracts, transactional contracts, rational contracts. So what we find in America is we have more and more people who are coming in, and we're more diverse in all types of ways, racially and ethnically. We have more people in the workplace, to include baby boomers who are still in the workplace that are still working. As a matter of fact, their contribution that they make to the economy is in the trillions of dollars. So one of the reasons that people are being able to work longer is medicine has improved, technology has improved. Older people are better able to take care of their bodies so they can continue doing things through science and medications and technology. So we have people who are older working, not because in some cases they have to, because sometimes they want to. And it's been statistically proven that because they do, they actually are healthier and live longer. And some of them do it because they need to as well, financial reason. We have including more foreign-born workers. We have a lot more foreign-born workers who are in our country now who actually, a lot of the PhDs and a lot of the people in technical fields and science fields are foreign-born. This is part of the great melting pot of America. The change in employer relationship. Psychological contracts. Psychological contracts are contracts that people believe, that how they believe things are with their company. Transactional contacts are actually what you look at and say, this is what people feel like, well, if I do this for the company would do this for me. I give you something, you give me something. Rational contracts are, if I dedicate my life to you, you would dedicate yourself to me. In other words, there's a commitment there from not only me, but from you. This is how people rationalize these things, and this is how they believe. Application commitment initiatives. Employees are more committed when employers are committed to them. Perceived organizational support is fostered when organizations provide rewards, protect job security, improve work conditions, minimize impact of politics. This is what you need. These 4 things right here are what you need to actually promote a healthy workplace, a positive workplace, a place where people can come and feel like, hey, listen, you reward me when I deserve it. You protect my job. I feel like you got my back. You don't put me in work conditions that are unpleasant or unsafe. You will improve them and you take care of me. I don't have to come to work and I don't have to the company doesn't have a political view. If the company's got a political view, they don't make me take that. And for the most part, usually when you say to minimize the impact of politics, that usually means organizations keep politics out of the workplace. And they also encourage employees to do the same too. Nobody who works with you needs to know who you vote for or what your political beliefs are. And that should have any bearing on whether or not you get promoted or not. That concludes Chapter 3.